And we're live. And with me, I have the most stylish man on YouTube, that guy T.
Well, that's very flattering. I appreciate it.
All right. So how would you describe your personality?
Um, Introverted, quiet. No, it kind of seems a bit different than my personal YouTube persona, but overall, just a really laid back, laid back thinker, I would say.
Yeah, I think you did interview some feminists on your channel, didn't you?
Yeah, it was I think it was you talking about the one at the Milo rally?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I did interview a few feminist protesters.
Yeah, how's that like?
Well, that was fine. They were pretty respectful. I mean, the thing is, when interviewing people, especially in person, it's not really so much as trying to get like to pwn them or to prove them wrong, because 9 times out of 10, I went into that discussion knowing that I wasn't going to change any of their opinions. More than likely, it's just more so to have their voices heard, outside of their rehearsed mantras, or their you know same old, this is about equality. They're basically their stage images. It's good to just actually get a good hold on what they're talking about personally, and how they personally believe, and just being able to share that.
Um, okay. Have you ever been a feminist?
No, I've never, to my knowledge, been a feminist. I've rarely ever been an egalitarian, but I've definitely never been a feminist.
Would you describe yourself as an anti feminist?
Yeah, I would personally describe myself as an anti-feminist.
Why?
Well, there's different reasons why some people describe themselves as anti-feminists. Some of them, describe themselves as anti-feminists because they, don't like the current stream of feminism. They don't like the, current way feminists act. They don't like the actual actions of feminism, which all that is true for me as well. But I would say I'm an anti-feminist mostly because I completely disagree with the dictionary definition of feminism. I don't believe in that equality, gender equality, socio-political and economic of the sexes is an inherent good. Um, so that's primarily why I'm an anti-feminist, because I'm opposed to the ideology.
Yeah, you did talk about why you're against equality in your newest video.
Yeah.
So, why did you start a YouTube channel? And if it's a different answer, what inspired you to make anti feminist videos?
Well, the thing that started me to start the YouTube channel was mainly I just wanted a different avenue to actually get my thoughts and ideas out there. I used to put them out on Twitter a lot, and very short written, other social media, and that was fine for a while. But I found myself constantly repeating the same ideas over and over and over again to new people. So I figured it would be good to have some place that I could have like an archive of my personal thoughts. So whenever someone asks me, hey, what's your position on this? What do you believe about this? I can just point them to a video and say, this is my position on this, and if it changes, I can always do an update video. And it's good to have that archive of, where you started off in your intellectual journey, and then to just reflect and see where you've come, forward. And the reason I started anti-feminist videos, I'm not really sure exactly what sparked me to do it. I think it was with the whole transgender thing started off, and I was actually trying to actually gain a little bit of insight into transgenderism, and just the response that I was met with originally was pretty hostile because I ran into the SJW transgenders. So once I went on that little rant about them, um, after that I just realized that it is deeper than just trans people or trans issues. There's a lot of craziness in this feminist SJW movement. And from there it just came to me that all the idiocy online it's just out there. So it's like eh, I wouldn't mind having my voice being heard to combat some of this stupidity. I couldn't just sit back and just let it ride. So that's pretty much what sparked me to start creating anti-feminist videos.
Are you an MRA?
No, I don't identify as the MRA.
Have you ever been a MGTOW person?
Not really. Um, yeah, not really. I mean, I've had some MGTOW ideals. I mean, I still hold some. Like, for example, I'm against marriage. I don't. I'm not saying I'm against marriage, but personally, I don't have any desire to get married in any time in the foreseeable future. Um, just not because of necessarily all the divorce issues and all that, which that does play a factor, but mainly because I just don't really value the institution that much. And also, um, let's see, I guess another MGTOW quality that I would have held or maybe still hold to some extent is like the notion of self betterment. Worried about making sure that you're okay, not basically living for the approval of a spouse, or living to find a partner. Actually living for yourself. But I wouldn't necessarily define myself as a MGTOW because I do hold some other qualities that are antithetical to MGTOW. Obviously, I'm I'm not opposed to having relationships with women. I'm not opposed to, which is not saying that MGTOW necessarily are, but I'm not opposed to traditional roles of male of men providing for their spouse or things like that. So that's pretty much why I wouldn't or have never really clarified or defined myself as a MGTOW, but I do have some MGTOW sympathies, I guess you could
Yeah, you haven't taken the red pill.
say. Not yet. Dr. Lehman has to give that one to me.
Do you consider America to be highly influenced by feminism?
Yeah, I would. Especially now, it's becoming more and more influenced by feminism, and I mean, it's always been influenced by feminism. I mean, after the suffragist movement, I mean, feminists have pretty much held, a pretty big role in the political atmosphere in America, and also in the media. And there's always the pretty much any idea of victimhood is going to be profitable in America and it's going to be marketable. And I think that's the reason why you see ideas like feminism to where they just don't die and they're never ending. It's always something new to be offended about. It's always some new oppression to overcome. And I think that's why it's so influential and so everlasting in America.
The way you describe feminism, it sounds a lot like Christianity. Would you compare the two, or do you think that they're similar, or no?
Yeah, I think Christianity and feminism have quite a few similarities. I mean, obviously they're both, yeah, more or less irrational. Feminists are a little bit more. So they're both, adhere to religious concepts, an all good deity. In feminism's case, it's equality. In Christianity's case, it's Jesus. They don't really have a holy scripture, but they do have a like a practicing ideology, that's almost religious. Like devil is the patriarchy. We have to thou shall not thou shall not use the wrong pronouns now, and it just goes a little bit further and further crazy. And any type of dissent or any type of opposition to it is met with just as much vitriol as you would see Christians meeting with, atheists, in which they say, you're evil. You're inherently, there's something inherently wrong with you. You're inherently immoral. Christians say you're 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 just immoral. Feminists say you're how they describe it, misogynist or sexist. If you don't agree with feminism, if you don't agree with Christianity, then you're you know I can't think of the word that all writers use all the time. Degenerate, you know. And yeah, I think that's a pretty major similarity between the two.
Yeah, but in a here and now, like 2016, would you rather deal with a Christian? Like if you like had to meet one at a bar, would you rather deal with a Christian or would you rather deal with a feminist?
Oh, Christian, no doubt, absolutely, no comparison.
Yeah, I do think that Christians have toned down over the years. They're not all Western Baptists. They used to be Baptists. Over the years they kind of mellowed out, I think.
Yeah, and I think they're not really, I mean, Christians are more or less, at least in America, Western Christians, they're more or less agnostic. They don't really care that much about their religion, much as they may say they do. They don't really adhere to the Bible, as rigorously as say fundamentalist Muslims do. And you could say that that means they're hypocrites, but it's okay. I mean, it's not something that I'm really upset to see. I would much appreciate if most religious people would just toss aside the bullshit areas of their religion, whether or not you think it's consistent or hypocritical or not. If it's stupid, if it's a dumb idea, if it's wrong to your personal values, I don't see an issue why you shouldn't be able to just toss it in the trash. And I think that's what a lot of Christians do now, and I think that's why we see them as more moderate than most other religions out there right now.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, I've did the research before, and very few Christians have actually bothered to read the Bible. And even from the Christians who did bother to read the Bible, even like less than that believe in the literal interpretation of the Bible.
Yeah, and I mean that people may say that's a bad thing, but really, who has ever really complained about a Christian not living out the full text of the full callings of the Bible? Nobody wants to see that. If anything, when they do, we complain about it. So yeah, I'm happy to see more agnostic Christians. They can take the full leap and get rid of all of the bullshit. That'd be even better.
Yeah, I'm not mad at them picking and choosing because if they actually follow the Bible, they would be very similar to Muslims. They would be like really similar to like ISIS and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they'd be, you would kill somebody for working on Sunday. If they ate shellfish, or if they got rounded haircuts, then they'll be, subject to physical punishment. And yeah, that's not really something that modern societies are really that concerned about, unless except in like North Korea, where you can only get 7 of like 8 approved haircuts.
Um, what feminist aspects do you see in America that you would like to see change?
Um, all of them, pretty much. I mean, I would like to see feminism completely discarded. It's not really something that I want to see reformed, because even reformed feminism is not a feminism that I can personally find myself in support of. So I would like to see feminism completely abolished. But if we had to play the devil's advocate and just come up with a pragmatic option, then I would say, you know the victim everlasting victimhood, the constant need for someone, or the constant need to feel oppressed, to find someone who's oppressing you, to the the constant focus or unnecessary focus on gender when it's not relevant, when it's not necessary, in terms of maybe um, quotas, or when you're voting, or pretty much any deciding factor that would otherwise warrant impartiality, and instead you're focusing on gender because you think it's going to achieve equality. Those would be some areas that I would like to see reform within the feminist ideology. But if I truly had my way, I would like to just see feminism out and gone.
Not even like Christina Hoff Summers egalitarian feminism.
Not really. I mean, her brand of feminism is better, granted, but I mean, personally, I haven't really heard much from Christina Hoff Sommers in terms of her original thoughts, and most of it I've seen, especially in terms of her um, factual feminist series, it's debunking radical feminism, but it's never really promoting, her brand of, moderate feminism. Whereas the areas I have heard, of modern feminism, which, kind of goes back to like first wave feminism, it's still not something that I would find myself in support of, as outlined in my recent videos, why I'm against equality. It's not, I mean, it's a noble gesture in, in an, in theory, but in practice, it always yields authoritarianism. It's almost never um, compatible with individual liberty. It's almost never interested in individual liberty or upholding principles of freedom. And that's why even like first wave egalitarian feminism, or uh, you know feminism, in terms of like equal rights, I'm not even concerned about equal rights in terms of feminism. I'm only concerned about freedom, individual liberty. And you could argue that on face value that may sound like the same thing as equal rights, but honestly, it's they're completely two different things if you actually look deep enough into the contextual meanings of the two.
Yeah, that was a really good video. You've certainly changed my mind. You're kind of like, no, what you really mean is impartiality. You don't really mean equality of opportunity. You mean impartiality when it comes to picking and choosing.
Yeah, because I mean, when people think about it, there's a lot of areas, where people can be equal, but being equal doesn't necessarily mean that you're free. Being equal doesn't mean that you're, living, happily. Being equal doesn't mean that you're, not being oppressed. Being equal just means that you are of equal circumstance to someone else. That could be, in freedom, or that could be under tyranny. And if you hold equality, as feminism does, as an inherent good, if that's the core principle of your ideology, then you would not be able to, logically um, prefer one over the other, because they're both the same result, which is equality.
What do you think of the alt right?
Uh, all right's okay. I say I usually describe them as 70% 70% disgruntled Republicans, 20% white nationalists, and 10% just trolls. But I think the trolls might be a little bit higher than that. But pretty much, I mean, alt right, it's okay. I mean, it's kind of like a meme a little bit. Some of their ideas I understand, but some of them, like build the wall, I'm not really behind. It's just like, it's basically a hype, basically the hype man of the Republican Party, and that's pretty much all I can say for the alt right. I've have a few friends in the alt right. I've had some good experiences with the alt right. I've had some avid disagreements with the alt right, but in the end, they're not the worst authoritarian ideology, or not the worst authoritarian political sect out there, but nonetheless, they are authoritarian political sects.
I just think that the build a wall idea when it comes to Mexico is really silly because they could get here by boats. I mean,
Yeah,
what?
they could get here by boats, they could get here by planes, they could do what they're doing with the fence now and going under it, unless you're going to, build a wall, 100 feet deep under the ground. But I don't think that's very plausible. Um, and also, there's going to be holes in the wall. The wall isn't going to be impenetrable, as many people may envision it. I'm sure that's what they're dreaming of, but in reality, it's not going to happen.
No, like that, but they could bomb the wall. You can make a self-made bomb. It's just like we're gonna bomb the wall.
Yeah, I mean the wall isn't really anything that's going to keep out. It's not going to keep out crime. It's not going to keep out. It's not going to keep out illegal aliens. It's going to be more so in a symbolic thing. It's kind of like the Great Wall of China. It may hinder some immigration slightly, but overall the cost benefit won't be worth it.
And I mean, if we're going to be realistic, I mean, it's going to be our taxpayers' dollars, not theirs. And I do not want to spend my tax money on a wall when they could still get here by boats or they could still dig a tunnel under it.
Yeah, and people, constantly say, "Oh, Mexico's going to pay for it." Good luck with that. That's where it goes to being not only a rational argument to just being a meme. Like we're really going to get Mexico to pay for the wall. Okay, yeah, that like come on, get serious.
Yeah, I think that the Mexico ambassador basically told Trump to go fuck himself.
Did he?
Not in those exact words, not exactly, but I think he said something to that extent.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised by it.
Are you an avid reader?
Somewhat. I wouldn't say avid. I read mostly online, but in terms of physical text, not really. Mainly because I have a very short attention span, and I find myself usually doing like four things at once. Like either I'm probably watching TV, and then I'm also reading an article on whatever, maybe feed.org or something like that. And the other tab, I'm finishing writing a script for a video, and then past that, probably playing a few sessions on my video game console. I do a lot of things at once. So with reading on a text, is really something that you just have to sit down and you have to dedicate a large amount of time to actually get it done. And I can't manage to get myself to do that, unfortunately.
Um, well, from the books you have read, what books would you recommend to your audience?
Well, I will have it wouldn't be that many, but the one that I have read and finished that I probably would recommend would be The Road to Serfdom by Frederick Hayek. Um, that would probably be the one most political book that I've read that's actually had an influence on my ideology. I've read a few others that were just kind of like contrarian readings. Like I read the Conservatarian Manifesto by, I forgot the guy's name, and a few this other one, I can't remember the title of it, but it was some kind of like left leaning business book. But Road to Serfdom would be the one that I would recommend.
All right. Um, do you wish that more Americans were interested in politics?
uh Not particularly, honestly, because people always assume that if we had everyone interested in politics, then that would be better because everyone would know what's going on. Everyone would be able to voice an opinion and be able to get involved. When in reality, there are just a lot of people who, personally, I don't think are intellectually capable of really getting involved in politics, to the extent that it will be beneficial to me at all. I mean, some people, and that's not putting anybody down, but there's a lot of people out there who are just fine, working their 9 to 5 job. They're fine coming home, watching TV. They're fine living their life outside of any type of political critical thought or inquiry. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, personally, I think politics shouldn't be an influence on people's lives, because I'm an anarcho-capitalist, so I don't believe that the state should be an influence on people's lives. But even as it is, I think a lot of people really just don't care about politics. I mean, they just want to live their life as they see fit. And I think that's a much better attitude to have than getting more involved in politics and trying to control someone else, through legislation or or through lobbying the government or any other means that most people do once they get involved.
How do you feel about Barack Obama's presidency?
I mean, it's nothing great. Absolutely. I mean, that clearly it's nothing, that we're going to, write home about. There were a few areas that I did agree with. There were a lot that I didn't. Mostly, I mean, the things that he did get done, it was like a 50, well, not 50-50, but the attempt to close Guantanamo, I did support. The attempt to, though I didn't support his means of doing it. I didn't support giving suspected terrorists just back to like Qatar governments and things like that. His Obamacare legislation was an absolute disaster, which I was opposed to. His Fast and Furious scandals. There was a lot of corruption in this presidency. His re-signing of the Patriot Act, which, I mean, it's not really anything that's exclusive to Obama. It's probably going to go forward, whether we elect Trump or Hillary. Same thing's going to be going down more often than not, just as it did with the last 5 presidents prior, with Bush, Clinton, and Bush Sr. and all them. But the only thing that I really did find myself supporting in his presidency was the trade relations with Cuba. I was proud that he was able to close off those sanctions and end that embargo, and also the attempt with Iran. Believe it or not, a lot of people, especially on the right, disagree with me on this. Where they say Iran just cannot let Iran get nuclear power, whereas I believe that it's not the right of any other nation to prevent another nation from seeking to attain nuclear power or nuclear arms, if for that matter. Personally, if I was a nation, if I was to get my own country, I want nukes. Not because I have any intention to destroy the world or for world domination, but just because nukes are a level playing field. You don't see America putting heavy sanctions on other countries with nukes. You don't see them invading other countries with nukes constantly. Whereas in the Middle East, most of these countries that have been invaded, aren't nuclear positive, and they don't really have any meaningful line of defense outside of their very inept military. So I'm glad that he didn't drag us into a war with Iran, but at the same time, he's also constantly drone striking the Middle East. He's also constantly overthrowing dictatorships, whether that be in Syria or in Libya, which I'm not a fan of dictatorships, but you're still increasing instability in the country. So his presidency is not something that I would ever credit to being good, though there were very, very few things that I was at least kind of happy to see that was attempted or successful.
You're against drone strikes?
Yeah, I'm against drone strikes, especially in terms of the civilian casualties um, that arise from drone strikes. The fact that there's legislation on our books that we can drone strike American citizens overseas, without due process. It's kind of like it's basically a flying death penalty without a jury. Um, so yeah, I find myself in opposition to that.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I think that drone strikes are it's terrible because you end up hitting civilians. You don't even hit your targets. So what's the point?
Yeah, you rarely hit your target, and also, now granted, that doesn't mean I'm against drone strikes as a military strategy completely. There are some rare situations in which drone strikes can be useful, and especially in terms of actual warfare. But the way that it's being used now, in terms of covert CIA assassinations and things like that, it's not something that I could get behind, mainly because I don't trust the government.
I don't trust the government either. I think that it's mostly self interested. I don't think it has America's best interest at heart. I mean, come on, like Hillary Clinton. I mean, how many scandals have people caught Hillary Clinton doing? And I mean, it's kind of a lot like Goldman Sachs having her doing like, I don't know, $7,000 speeches for 20 minutes. I mean, come on.
Yeah, she's her and Bill are really racking up off of this campaign run, and their speeches, their speaking fees are going up to the roof, and there's a lot of cronyism involved in politics. No one's immune to it. Every politician benefits from it, but the Clintons take it to a whole nother level more often than not.
Yeah. Um, let's see. When you hear these names, what's just the first thing that comes to mind? Pros and cons. Bernie Sanders.
Um, Pro, he's probably one of the most intellectually honest and ideologically consistent candidates that's running, at least in terms of this race. Cons, he doesn't know jack shit about economics, and he's an authoritarian.
Mhm. How do you feel about Ted Cruz?
Um, Kind of the same. I mean, Cruz, he's your average right leaning, kind of like neocon warhawk, bomb the shit out of ISIS, maybe a little less than Trump would want to, but still nonetheless, he's you know, he's not really that much opposed to, the standard workings of Washington. He's kind of like he's basically your average Republican. He's good at speeches, he's good at making his case for why he believes in liberty and all these things, but when he has to check his voting record and his practice, you find out that it's not really the case. He's your average politician. The one thing that I would say, which is not necessarily something that I'm in favor of, but it is something that people may agree with, is that he's very, very consistent in terms of his position on pro-life. So for pro-life activists and pro-life supporters, he's probably definitely a good politician, I guess you could say there. But outside of that, outside of any other, you know, actual policy wise that he's been a part of, he's nothing special in my opinion.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump's a meme. He's that's pretty much all he is. He's the Make America Great Again, Pepe of Washington. He's he doesn't really have any solid policies. He doesn't really, voice his policies, because that's why many people are on the fence about him, because they don't really know what he supports. He's kind of like just he's kind of like a gamble, for a blank ticket of, you could get anything. So Donald Trump, I mean, he's funny. Don't get me wrong. He's excellent at marketing. He's a genius, I would argue, at marketing. But you know, outside of that, he's still, the average. I wouldn't say average politician, because he's not a politician, but your average American citizen trying to, obtain the power of the state for his own personal interests, to um, do what he feels is right. Some of that includes, increasing liberties for individuals, and some of that includes, increasing the power of the government. Um, he's just, I mean, anything as far as policy wise is not notable for him. It's not anything that's praiseworthy at all. The only thing that's really relevant to discuss about Trump is his marketing presence, his media presence, and the fact that he's a funny memester.
Hillary Clinton.
Probably one of the most corrupt politicians in DC at the moment. Average status, feminists, not much else to say. Just your probably one of the worst options you can get out of a politician, at least in terms of our current American political system. She's probably around the lowest of the low that could possibly arise from Washington.
Yeah. I this just came to my mind just now because it's not one of my set questions, so I had to think about it. But I just thought that you did have a video on your channel where you had libertarian candidates, like I think one of them is Gary Johnson.
Uh-huh.
And I think, I mean, I don't have this written down at all. The others are scripted, and now that I think of it, I think you had, like a libertarian debate, like Gary Johnson, and I think
Oh yeah, the Fox Style Libertarian debate with Gary Johnson, was it John McAfee and Austin Peterson?
yeah. How do you feel about those? Um,
Um, well, the only one that's running now is going to be Gary Johnson. He got the ticket, so McAfee and Peterson have dropped out now. Though in this cycle, I didn't really have much respect for Peterson before, but I have garnered some in this particular campaign run, just based on some of his ability to articulate the values of liberty, and his ability to um, just not be a dick, because that's kind of why I didn't like him before. And McAfee, I've met, as well as his vice president, Judd Weiss. They're all cool people as well. But Johnson, never really loved too much about him. I mean, he was the one person I voted for the first year I could vote, which was in 2012. And he's the only person that I've ever voted for, and maybe the last person I will ever vote for. Um, Not saying that I will vote for him again, but that would probably be the last vote I would ever cast, rather. But in terms of him politically, now this running cycle, he's not anything really worth celebrating. I mean, he's an alternative to the left right paradigm, but outside of that, as far as is he like the libertarian savior? Is he going to be the best libertarian president that we could ever have run for office? Absolutely not. He's bland, he's boring, he's very flimsy on his libertarianism. So the Libertarian Party has been quite a bit of a disappointment lately.
really, I thought that you would vote for a libertarian to get away from the left-right paradigm.
Well, not really. I'm granted, I would like to see that happen, but I mean, at the end of the day, when I'm voting for a libertarian, it's going to be, it's basically going to be a principal vote because it's not like they have any chance of winning. At this point, they have the way the polls are looking, they have a very slim chance of even getting on the debate stage. And even if they did get on the debate stage, personally, I wouldn't even want Gary Johnson on the debate stage this time representing. I would rather that this just be a cycle that libertarians just sweep under the rug and accept their loss, and then maybe try again in another 4 years, because he's just such a bad representation of what it means to be a libertarian. He's absolutely terrible at conveying the message. So while I wouldn't necessarily vote to just for the sake of getting rid of the left right paradigm, I would do it if I was actually principally accepting of the candidate, which in this case I'm not. But also if it was a relative, good actual chance that it could make a difference. But at the moment, I'm really antithetical to the voting process. I don't really. I mean, I bash politicians here and there, but at the end of the day, I'm probably not going to vote for any of them. We're going to get either Trump or Hillary, more than likely Hillary, at the end of the day. And, it's something that's going to, continue for quite a while. And I'm more focused on, market innovations and, trying to basically bring people up to speed on a voluntary level, through things like discussion on my YouTube channel and just actually spreading ideas rather than getting a particular figurehead into the Oval Office, for 4 years.
Yeah, yeah. I think that what probably could end the paradigm would most likely if Bernie Sanders, somebody as popular as Bernie Sanders, sort of run as independents, but it's probably too late for him to run as independent now. I'm not sure.
I think he still can, but I don't think he will. One, he's not going to win, and two, if he runs independent, it's going to guarantee a victory for. It's probably going to guarantee a victory for Hillary, more than likely. Some people say if he runs independent, it's going to take a lot of votes from Hillary, and it might help out Trump, which is possible. But I think it's more than likely going to guarantee a victory for Hillary. And he doesn't want Trump to win, so I think he's just going to lay back this time.
Have you ever been a Christian?
I've been a Christian in name only before. I mean, I like prayed to like help do good on tests that I had the next day and stuff like that. I went to church, and listened to the music, which was not that bad. But outside of actually, being heavily religious, I've never really found interest in it. I've never really found interest in religion or in any type of deity, and never really, found any usefulness, particularly for God or for any type of, external entity that I think would help. I've always believed in evolution. I've never really thought, except for like when I was a child, but once I, got to like my mid-teen years, I've never thought that, the earth just popped out of nowhere from this divine creator. So I would say I've been a Christian in the most I guess secular way one can be a Christian. But in terms of actually being a very hardcore religious adherent to Christianity, nah.
Is there any part of the Christian lifestyle that you miss?
Not really. The only thing that I would say that I do miss is the communion, the little communion cracker, the little thing with the cracker and grape juice on every, what was it, first of every Sunday or Monday or something like that. I think the first Sunday of the month. Those things were good. I used to eat like 7 of them. I used to just take them from a friend who didn't like grape juice. That would be the only thing that I would say I miss from the Christian lifestyle. And what I wouldn't even say religious holidays, because I still celebrate holidays, like Easter and things like that. Not so much for the religious aspect, but just for the social aspect, hanging out with family and all that, and the barbecue and all that good stuff. But any really particular area of the lifestyle of being a Christian that I miss, I couldn't say that I have one.
All right. Final question. Is there any wish is there anything that you wish your audience knew about you?
Um, that they don't already know. uh, I guess that that I'm not dogmatic in any of my beliefs. That even though I am a very strict libertarian, I don't really try to compromise on my principles to any extent. It's not because I don't, not because I'm opposed to any other opposing ideas. It's just because I've gone through the process of examining the ideas and going through self criticism and figuring out where I stand on all these individual particular issues, and this is the conclusion that I've come to. And some people may say, well, if you accept a label, or if you're against this or that, then that means you're dogmatic and you're not flexible, you're not pragmatic, you're not willing to change your ideas, which I am willing to change my ideas, but the argument to convince me to change them has to be good. And quite frankly, I haven't had any argument that's been able to convince me to change from my particular ideals on libertarianism, overall. Some areas I have changed, like on abortion, and I've changed on on drug legalization before. Some other ones I've changed on is equality recently, um, and other ideas, like my opposition to religion and my opposition to Islam. And there's been quite a few areas. Immigration. There's been a lot of areas that I have changed my opinion, based on the evidence or based on the arguments that I've been presented with. But I would just like them to know that I am willing to change my opinions, my ideas, and try to adopt new ones. But your argument has to be pretty damn good.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll end this on a positive note. Anyway, I've noticed you on heterosexual Pride Day. So did you win over a lot of gay allies, or did you mostly get blocked?
Well, I got a few. I got a few gay allies, but yeah, mostly it was just blocking. I got reported by one person because they said I was inciting hate speech, and just overall, just a lot of butt hurt. And also, I had someone actually say to me, which I didn't know was a real thing, but they actually said it. I was discussing Black Lives Matter and LGBT with them, and they apologized to me, midway through the discussion, telling me that they're sorry. They're sorry that if they're offending me because they know it's not their place to white splain, and that that just made my day. That was hilarious. It's sad to see that we've come to the point that we're debating a Black person or a person of color. You have to clarify that you're not white splaining to avoid offending them. That's it's both depressing and puts a smile on your face at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I've read all your tweets, or at least most of your tweets on heterosexual Pride Day, and I thought it was all hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, and there were quite a few other ones too out there that were just it was just a funny hashtag. It was just a good day for trolling. And I think regressives aren't really going to realize that, because I mean the hashtag otherwise would have died had it not been for the complete batshit reaction from them. And it just makes me all the more eager for the next year when we can go back and have the triggering hashtag again.
They were the main ones keeping it alive. I mean, and I got like blocked by so many people, but even though I got blocked by so many people, when you read through the hashtag, the people keeping it active were to people complaining about it.
Exactly. And they kept saying, this, I guess it was a perfect hashtag for them to voice, being offended, for them to voice their victimhood and try to get sympathy points. But unfortunately, on the internet, you're not going to find that, especially if you're in a public dialogue to where you have people who would disagree with you, on areas like Twitter, and it's a top trending hashtag, across the country. Yeah, you're not gonna get the pity that you're expecting.
I think that they mostly wanted to virtue signal. It's not like they try to change minds. Like me, I got blocked by so many people. So it's kind of like they're not trying to change minds or influence people and try to get people to think differently or combat any perceived racism or sexism. They really are just trying to virtue signal. Because if it was the other way around, then they would try to debate people and try to convince people that they're wrong.
Exactly. They're not interested in any type of dialogue, not interested in any type of discussion to be had. They're not interested in your positions. They just know what they believe, and they just know what they believe, and that anything that is against what they believe is automatically going to be hateful. It's automatically going to be racist and sexist and homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic. I don't know how the hell that managed to make it into this hashtag, but it did. um yeah, like you said, it's just virtue signaling, trying to get pats on the back for being so progressive. And I guess that backfired on him.
Yeah, because I mean, like I did manage to have like a real argument with one, and it's kind of a lot like LGBT would all LGBT Pride Day would always be needed because even if gays were equal, then we would have to go by historic oppression. And I was thinking, well, my response was, what about the Irish slave trade? And then they told me not to talk to them anymore.
Yes, yes. It's always inconvenient when you mention oppression that isn't, part of your particular demographic. Any oppression that may come at the hands of, white people, or I guess really that's the only one that they don't want to hear about. Then, that's disruptive to the narrative, and that just can't be tolerated.
Yeah, exactly. It took me saying, what's about the Irish slave trades for this person to want to end the conversation, because it disrupts the narrative. And I presume that this person had no idea about white slavery.
Yeah, or they do, but they just don't want to hear about it because it's like you said, it disrupts the narrative. And they largely don't have a response to it because, what are you going to say? Too bad the white people got enslaved. Yeah, nobody's going to be a dick and say that. So that's why they block you, so they can just, avoid having to admit to their bigotry.
This was a white person too, but still.
Yeah, yeah, most of them are.
Well, anyway, it was really nice having you on. Thank you for coming.
No problem at all. Thanks again for having me on too.
All right. Bye, everyone.